I am Jim Collison and live from the Gallup studios here in Omaha, Nebraska. This is Gallup's Theme Thursday, Season 4, recorded on July 24th, 2018. Theme Thursday is a Gallup webcast series that dives deep into the Clifton Strengths themes, one theme at a time, and today's is focus, and we're going to need it for sure. If you have questions, comments, or contributions during the webcast, we do have a live chat room that's available for you. Even though we're doing this on a Tuesday when we normally do it on a Thursday, we got some folks to join us in the chat room right below the main video window there. Bottom left-hand corner, it says log in. Choose that. Choose the guest account. Take the name out and the numbers. Put your name in so I know who you are. Sometimes it's even helpful if you pronounce your name for me. Evan, thank you for doing that. And we appreciate you guys. You can ask your questions live. If you're listening to the recorded version or have questions about custom strengths coaching solutions, we do that as well. You can send us an email, coaching@gallup.com. And don't forget to visit the Gallup Strength Center. Just gallupstrengthcenter.com for all your Clifton Strengths coaching resources and training needs. You can also catch the video in both streaming and downloadable audio. We call that podcasting. If you haven't caught on, you probably should. It's the way of the future. We'd love to have you do that off your phone. All the links to do that are available on our new redesigned resources page of the Coaches blog. If you haven't been out to the Coaches blog, I know it's probably 2 years from the time I recorded this, but we just did a redesign, and you might want to head out there, coaching.gallup.com. It looks great, and appreciate your reviews on that. One more thing, don't forget, if you're on an iPhone or Android, you can rate and review, subscribe to this as well, so you get it automatically. If you're on YouTube, there's a subscribe button and hit the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. If you're on Spreaker, you can do the same thing, and they'll send you an email that will alert you when we go live. Micah Librant is our host today. She works as a workplace consultant here at Gallup, although today she's in an undisclosed bunker somewhere in western Nebraska. Micah, welcome to Theme Thursday.
Thanks, Jim. It's great to be here.
We are excited to talk about focus today. We are coming off, this won't matter for most people because they'll be listening to this in a time-shifted manner, but we're coming off the summit and a lot of activity for both of us. For me, focus is at the absolute bottom. If you can't tell from the pre-show today, if you're coming in live, focus is at the bottom. I don't know about you, but we could really use some focus today. So we're going to buckle down, get through this over the next 30 minutes and really dig in. Micah, when we think about focus, give us a quick, brief description of it.
Focus is an executing theme. I was just describing this, actually. I'm sitting in my parents' house, and I was telling my dad what I was about to do this morning. And I said, we're talking about the theme of focus. And the way I described it to him, somebody who really doesn't speak StrengthsFinder language, which is always a great test for how well you can describe these themes, I said, it's the opposite of multitasking. Focus describes people who can single task until the task is complete. I think about it as great intensity toward one target. The ability to really just put your head down, be hyper-attentive, that ability to be really fully present with a goal until that goal is completed. If you've got focus, you are persistent, passionate maybe. That might be a word to describe your pursuit of your goal, really focused on the end. I think there's also a matter of efficiency, effectiveness, that sort of single-minded prioritization that speeds up quality and improves quality.
Mike, I've always had theme envy on this one. This and discipline are the two that
I
always wished I've had. I think I've probably said that in every webcast that we've done. But when we think about it at its best, I've kind of given up on it. I use other people's focus to help me out. But when we think about the best of it, where do we see it at its best?
So if you've got focus, you bring tremendous value to your team. The kind of service that you offer is the ability to keep the team on track to achieve the most important priority. There's an author I like who talks about how screwed up we have made the word priority, especially when we add an S to the end of it. But really what it means is one thing, one most important thing. And I think that people with focus can be the champion for what is most important, helping others avoid distraction that might not provide value or might not provide relevance. So that's also it. Without focus, you can play this maybe game. You can think that, maybe this will be valuable, or we could want to see something over here. With focus, you know that staying on track is the best value that you can have. So it's also about a value of that ability to increase your own productivity as well as that of others. Think about it as powerful investment toward achievable goals.
What kind of things should I be volunteering for, raising my hand for? What kind of things can I do more of?
Yeah, realize that you are the champion of the goal. So raise your hand to help get involved in setting the compass or setting that target, and then being the compass toward the target, your ability to prioritize and then act can help others not get lost in the process. Having some voice in why we're doing what we're doing will also help you make the most of your energy and help you, I think, guide the energy of other people. Also think about how can you help make the track more visible? So how can you remind people where we're going, how success is measured, and what our checkpoints are? Also, I think in order to do that, in order to raise your hand and be able to do that, you might have to admit that other people don't naturally do that. And so let go is later, is a question I think you're probably going to ask me later, but let go of expecting everybody to have focus. And you'll be able, I think, to raise your hand a little bit more if you realize this is a unique thing. Other people don't naturally stay on target like you do.
I think focus doesn't have carry some of the baggage that maybe we see associated with discipline. Not that we associate that, but sometimes culturally it gets associated with. Why do you think when we look at focus and discipline, I mentioned those two, they sometimes get lumped together in a package. But how are they different, Micah, when we think about the idea of discipline and the idea of focus?
I think focus has a little bit more of an engine to it. It's more about moving through your structure in order to get to your goal, whereas discipline is about building the structure. Discipline is about the habits that get you there. Discipline they both probably look very clean and efficient, but for different purposes. Discipline is paying attention to the environment that it creates that helps us get to where we're going, or the rules that we follow, the processes that we have that help us get to where we're going. That's more on the discipline side. Whereas focus looks clean and efficient because of its ability to narrow and be selective about what you do and really have that engine that moves forward on one thing at a time. So they both end up, I think, looking like you got your house in order, but discipline focuses on the order and focus focuses on the goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a good question to work through, and I think we see sometimes those two themes coming together. Much like we see wound communication, I think we sometimes see discipline and focus coming together. We've talked about both of them. If you haven't listened to our discipline season 4, you might want to go back and listen to that. There's some compare and contrast on that as well. But those are, Micah, when we think about, environments that support us, I think it's important to think through this theme dynamic, and then what kind of environments can we put ourselves in to really help support us?
I think about focus as being the ability to get in the zone at any time with any goal. But focus is, I'm going to lock in. I'm going to be really present with this one thing that I'm doing. So if you've got focus, you need to really make sure you're asking for what is the end goal and how is it going to be measured. If you get stuck working toward milestones, maybe that's because of the way maybe you're being managed or the way you're used to determining your achievements. It's going to feel like you have to get in and out of that zone a whole lot. So if you've got high focus, ask for what is the end goal, and not just what are the milestones to get us there. Focus really does begin with the end in mind, because the chances that they'll get so in the zone are there that they might sort of miss those checkpoints that other people need. So I think we've mentioned, and not on purpose, this is not an underlying theme with us that we're trying to incept you with, but I think we have mentioned, how do you eat an elephant? And achiever's going to say one bite at a time. Focus is going to say, I just eat the whole elephant. Right? Don't worry about that sort of one bite at a time. Tell me the whole elephant needs to be consumed and I'll do it.
And I won't stop until it's done, right?
Right.
Or I won't get distracted by the other things that are going on around me. I think that's a big difference in that discipline. I think sometimes it goes back to that inward versus outward. I think some of these themes have an inward focus. In other words, how we respond to things. And I think focus is one of those inward looking, and it can have outward appearances, but I think it has a very inward looking theme in us. How do we see this, or how are we going to respond? Where discipline is more about those outward processes that exist in creating those things. And again, that's a very broad stroke, and it doesn't apply in every circumstance. But you mentioned this earlier. What do we need to worry less about for those of us?
Earlier I said worry less about other people having it. So that's one thing. I also think worry less about intuitively understanding the feelings of other people. You really speak the language and see indicators of progress. And unless you've got some other themes that are going to challenge or change this, you'll see people through a lens of goals. So this is okay, and it can be compassionate. I think there can be nothing more compassionate than focused on a relationship. If you think about that same sort of in the zoneness, that same sort of ability to lock in, if that's locking in on a person, it's really beautiful and it's full of love. But you don't naturally do it through a sensitivity to emotion. You do it through a lens of progress toward a goal. So don't expect yourself to just pick up on what effect that's having on others.
Just looking at the theme or the discovery cards that we have available
Yeah,
for
those
you,
are great.
focus, in that metaphor of being in the zone. That's the part on the bottom here. It talks about these
Mm-hmm.
metaphors in the zone. We kind of use that internally as a branding for a product that we have that helps us kind of focus on our own well-being. But I would actually find, and I think this is why I gravitate towards focus and discipline. Because I don't, it's really at the bottom for me, but it brings that ability to really get things done. And sometimes in my top 5, where I have a ranger and activator, really good at starting, but always got criticized for finishing. And that when we talk about what not to worry about or worry less about, sometimes I want to give advice to those. And again, your top 5 will have you vary. But with focus people, I want them to worry less about starting and more about finishing, because oftentimes they have what it takes to get it finished.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes in startup situations or in R&D situations or in areas where it might take some themes that aren't there to get it going, there are others who can start those. And we need you to worry less about starting and more about helping us finish. So I think if I were to add to that, worry less about, and again, everybody varies, right? But I think in general, oftentimes that the sets that come, the talent themes that come with that, those kinds of people worry about, well, I'm not very original, or I'm not a good starter, or I'm not good at doing new things. Yeah,
Mm.
that's not your power, right? Your
Yeah.
superpower is coming along and helping us finish those.
And I think sometimes we lump all the executing themes together and we define them all as achiever, because achiever is the most common theme and it's maybe the most direct definition. It's get it done, right? And I think that sometimes that we try to define focus just as generally it's what helps you get things done, right? But it's very specific. It's not just that I'm thinking about what we should do. It's not that I'm making the priorities. That is a part of it. But if you only see that one slice of focus, you miss well, you run the risk of labeling. You run the risk of missing the true dynamic potential within focus. So it is a little bit of setting priorities, but it's also that piece of like, give me what we need to do. I can take it with more energy toward the goal maybe than other people would. So I'm horrible at sports analogies, but I think it's you're not the coach setting the play, but you are running the ball, and you're getting us a lot farther down the field than we could get without you. It's just that ability to move us closer to our goal through relentless pursuit and ability to really, really avoid distraction.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate it. It does play to a lot of the themes I don't have, and so I always appreciate it.
Mhm.
Speaking of that, when I'm working with folks that have that, what can we expect? So if I'm working with focus, what can I look for? What should I expect?
Expect them to not be patient with detours, or expect impatience with frivolous detours. They will listen, but they'll want to bring the conversation back to the task at hand. So you might want to say, "Hey, what if we did this?" halfway through the play that you're already making. And I think focus can learn to say, "All right, I hear where you're coming from, and we're going to continue on our original journey."
And then how would we?
Also,
Oh,
yeah.
go ahead. Keep going. Sorry.
Sorry, there's one more. I think expect excellence when they're functioning independently. So expect them to be good as part of a team. Expect them to bring that sort of compassion and ability to rally the troops and move the whole groups forward, but also expect them to be really good when you give them the opportunity to run on their own. There's a high sense of ownership and a high, probably, desire to set those priorities and be part of that decision making.
Yeah, and I think remember, right? There's 4 other themes. Actually, there's more than that, right? But let's just be simple in the top 5 that are
Yeah.
around this that are going to heavily influence. And so don't get stereotypical on this, but really ask some great questions too when you're working with these folks. One of the great questions is, how do you like to be recognized? And so when we think about focus and recognition, what's the best way to recognize it?
As I've been writing these notes this season, I found that like versed on the recognition piece, the best way to answer this is to ask myself, what is it that this theme brings to the table that nobody else does? And so in order to recognize focus, what I landed on here was, don't just recognize the quality of the outcome. Find a way that you can also recognize the speed and efficiency of the input. So what went into that high quality outcome? Look for ways that they've saved the team time or money or resources or headaches because of their diligence. Also think about short and midterm goals that are important. Call those out, and you can be a great voice of something invisible maybe to people with focus, which is, hey, look how much closer we're getting toward this goal. Focus still has their eye on the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but for you to be able to say, you know what, this week we got so much closer to where we need to go because of what you've been doing. That might be a surprise to them and a welcome boost of energy.
There are abilities for these themes to learn, to grow, right? That's the whole definition of what we're doing here. So when we think about focus and its ability to grow or growth, what kind of things, how can it grow?
Yeah, let's say you're a manager of somebody with focus. You can help stretch them by stretching their goal setting, maybe just even beyond work. You can connect with them and develop trust if you're speaking that language of goals and progress in ways that aren't just about the project right in front of them. So be bold enough to ask them what's important to them in their personal life. Be bold enough to talk about how their focus is showing up and what kind of goals they have around their family or their community or their health. This isn't going to work with everybody, and great managers know how to personalize that. But I think allowing them to see that this unique talent is not just going to get more done at work, but is also going to make them a more healthy, thriving citizen is definitely an opportunity you can provide. Also think at work about giving them the space to confirm what was decided, what was acted upon, and what to expect, maybe even at the end of the meeting. Maybe a great role for this person is our focus conscience, like the Jiminy Cricket of progress, being able to be the voice on the team who says, here's what we said we would do, here's how close we are to doing it, and here's what we need to do next.
Yeah, I think I would also add in learning to work with others who don't have it. That's, in some of the teams I have been on where we have the high focus, I take advantage of it, or I try to. But on the opposite side, knowing that you're coming at people who aren't, oftentimes those who are out front or those who are leading or changing have these themes that don't always support focus. You and I would be a perfect example of that when we're together, right? We necessarily wouldn't support focus, but I would challenge those two to understand that and then stretch to figure out how to influence in a way to bring those who aren't focused into at least some semblance of focus while we're trying to get the job done. I mean, I think that's a real skill to take a team of a bunch of, we say herding cats, right? That's one of those phrases that we use. It's a real talent to be able to take a disassembled, messy, everybody's going a million different directions and really get it focused. So, don't you think that's for leaders, that's particularly a gift? It just doesn't happen. You got to kind of work at it.
Sure.
How would we partner with someone high in focus? What are some great partnering techniques?
Make sure that you've gotten those goals out in the open, that there's some agreement for where we're going. Ask what the priorities are. Name where those priorities overlap. Where is something important to me and important to you? And where are we different? So that we really know what we're pursuing and how we're both differently pursuing it. Do not take that difference personally. Honor it. We say one of our guiding principles is that differences are advantages. Here's a real opportunity to talk about that. You can talk about, what do we bring to the table in terms of what we value, and how they're different, and how can we achieve more because those might be different. Also, you can be a great partner to focus by asking about timelines and allowing them to help you set some. So if you don't have focus and you're partnering with somebody who does, or even if you do, imagine the multiplicative power of having two people with focus talking about this on purpose. Where are we going? When do we need to get there by? And when can we just lock in and make some forward progress, get the stuff done?
You just said something that made me like, when I thought of two people working together, both high in focus. Does a singularity event happen and a black hole formed is there a locus of focus at that point? I haven't really thought about, wow, How does that work? Are they just in heaven? Is that their best day ever when they have somebody like them who is very, very focused? And what do they
It could be,
do?
or they could be like swimming in two different lanes, right?
Yeah.
And going completely different directions. So whether or not you have focus, I think if you're partnering this, let's say whether or not your partner has focus, if you have focus, it's very important just to make sure that there's some agreement on where we're going, because you will be going anyway, right? You're going to be locking in on something. So just, I think it's that much more important just to have some transparency around what's most important. How are we going to share an understanding of whether we've succeeded or not? And then kind of get out of each other's way and allow ourselves to focus together. The Locus of Focus, I think, is the long lost Dr. Seuss book, though. So we can work on
I'm
that.
writing that. That's coming up here shortly. Ralph kind of alludes to that in the chat room. He says the power of two with focus only if the focus is on the same thing, right? And yeah, that could be, I think, some clarity.
Yeah.
You could kind of think, oh, this is great. Like we both have high focus, but if those goals are different, that can be a
And
real
it's not
rub.
even just the same thing. It might be the same, gosh, it might be the same definition of what it is that we're doing, because you're always going to have difference, right? We are physically, we have different lenses on the world. Psychologically, we have different lenses on the world. Even two people with focus are probably going to see different opportunities to run really hard in one direction. So I think two people with focus, it becomes even more important just to say, hey, this is what I'm doing and how I'm going to do it. And then leave me alone and let me do it.
Leave me alone.
That might
Let
just
me
be
do
my
my job.
summit hangover talking.
Oh, it's great. When we have throughout the year here, we've been doing some dominant theme and lesser theme challenges. I'm excited about these. So, Micah, just a reminder, we're posting them to Instagram at Strengths Talk, which blew up during the summit, by the way. It was super cool to watch that go. Man, social during the summit was incredible. No focus there, although maybe it was incredible focus. Who knows? Going on is all kinds of great pictures were coming out. With the dominant theme challenge, you can also post those out to our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/called to coach. Micah, dive in a little bit. Tell us what we need to do this week.
Great. So I'm really pumped about these. I think they're some of the best ones. Kevin Lowe, thank you for sending all your students to Instagram to check out these theme challenges. At Strengths Talk is where you can find it for now. 3 challenges if you have focus really high. First, I want you to try setting a power hour every day this week where you turn off all social media alerts, you get away from your email, sit in a committed space that's very comfortable for you, and work toward one important goal for an entire hour. Put this on your calendar in advance and commit to it. Those of you who are hearing this with focus might think, well, I don't need to turn off social media. I get focused anyway. This is leaning into talent. This is looking at something that you're really great and being a little bit better at it. So number 1 is your power hour. Number 2, take time to write down your goals. Try daily, monthly, weekly. This is going to help you feel more in control, and it's going to help you get that focus out of your head so that you can help other people understand it. So try this daily. Try just writing what all your maybe your most important goals are for the day. Try it weekly. Try it monthly. Pay attention to how it feels most achievable to you, and then see if that can continue for you. Number 3, list your most valuable collaborators for each important goal, and then tell them how they help you and why that goal matters. So those, again, power hour, write down your goals, most valuable collaborators.
I like it. This one will be important for me this week as we think about the lesser theme challenge. What are those?
Yeah. So this is if focus is a lesser theme for you, to build your awareness of the theme and to build your awareness more of how you get to this outcome with a different set of themes. So if you have low focus, you're not going to get energy by doing. You might need to come in and out of a project in order to get energy, which is very different than somebody with focus. So if this is a lesser theme for you, your first challenge is to build an intentional energy break into your day this week. So let's say you spend a long time at a computer. Find maybe an app or a support tool, could be a dog, that makes you get up and move and then come back in and refocus. Basically, find an agitator for your day that will build an energy break, give you an opportunity to come out of a project and come back into it. Number 2 is to identify and remove 3 distractions from your work environment this week. again, without focus, you have to be your own focus. You have to be your own sort of prioritizer. So do this on purpose. Just find 3 things that might get in your way of being really intentional toward a single goal and get them out.
Those are awesome. My daughter, Samantha, who will not join us today because I forgot to tell her it's Tuesday instead of Thursday today, but she'll eventually make it. She has turned me on to this app where a tree grows. So you turn it on your phone, and it locks your phone, and the longer you leave it in a locked status, the more the tree grows.
I love that.
And so it really causes you to get away from your device, right, when you need to focus on something. And then the trees grow in the forest, and you can collect forests and all those. For those of us who like to collect things and like to make progress on stuff, that's a great way, I think, when we think about, your identify and remove 3 distractions. One of those distractions might be your electronic device that you have, right? That's right in front of you. And I know for me, it's just good to get that away. It's hard though, Micah, because my job is to make sure I answer people quickly. I got a lot of feedback at the summit that said your return time on emails or on social is like incredible.
It's a superpower for you, Jim.
It is, because I have a ranger and activator, right? And and so those I use those in concert to make that work. Micah, back to our focus and discipline. I'm just pimping the cards today, but from our theme insight cards, if you look at focus, we said there's a theme contrast at the bottom, which is really, 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 really cool. And it says focus, I have a goal I plan to reach. Discipline, I have a plan. I have a plan to reach my goal. So again, I have a goal I plan to reach. I have a plan to reach my goal. I love those contrasts. They're kind of Kurt-esque.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt. I should have just read that instead of trying to answer it on my own.
Super, super good. If you haven't picked these up, the theme insight cards are available for it. Hey, last night I was doing a call to coach in India, and he was talking about those picture cards that we use in some of our sessions. And I said, "Oh, you mean these?" And so I just have everything on my desk, by the way. I've brought everything in here to the studio so that I can show folks and do that. But Micah, any final thoughts as we think about focus? And I just got us all off of focus by doing all these things here. But what any final thoughts on focus?
My husband has focus in his top 5. Today's our anniversary. So I'm going to do this homework, and I encourage everybody else to do it too. I want you to fall in love with focus. Let's come back to our original reason for doing Theme Thursday ever, which was to help everybody love all 34 themes. If you're going to be a great coach, you've got to commit to that. So today, your homework, aside from those great theme challenges, is find somebody with focus and thank them for it.
Some good thoughts. Laura in the chat room says we didn't have a Mastery Monday for focus, and I think we're running a little behind on Mastery Monday at the moment. Which
thanks for your forgiveness on that one.
Yeah,
we're a little bit behind.
We're a little behind. We've got some resource changes going on here, and I think it's going to be a summer of catch up after the summit. We have been talking, Micah, about the summit for a long time, and the 2018 summit is here and gone. We'll talk a little bit about that summit in the post show. We have an abbreviated post show here today, but we'll talk a little bit about that. I want to thank you for joining us today. We'll remind everyone to take full advantages of all the resources we have available at the Gallup Strength Center, just gallupstrengthcenter.com. Send us your questions or comments. If you're an aspiring blogger and you want to send us a strength-based blog, you can do that as well. 400 to 600 words, could be more if you want. But write that out. Send it to us in an email. Send it to coaching@gallup.com. Put guest blogger in the subject line. That'll make its way over to Micah, and we can consider it for the coach's blog. You can also catch the recorded audio and video of this program, as well as all the past ones. We have a ton of them. It was great to see a whole new training class, a couple of them actually, before and after the summit. We had some 700 people come and do training here on campus, which stretched all our resources, by the way. Micah, you were one of those. You got a chance to do the advanced coaching course. I got to
be a student. I got to say, what a phenomenal summit. But honestly, the highlight for me, aside from meeting everybody, was that coaching course I got to take. Turns out we're really good at what we teach. Isn't awesome.
That funny? We take it ourselves. We take those. If you haven't taken the advanced coaching course and you're wondering what we're talking about, head out to our courses page, courses.gallup.com, and anything that is available will be listed there. If you have questions about what's coming up or you don't see something there, send us an email, coaching@gallup.com, and someone will get right back to you. We have a new availability. It's not the right word. We have new features on our Eventbrite page now. If you go to gallup.eventbrite.com, if you are used to going to that, and it might take you to the old site, you have to clear your cache to get that to the new site. But we have the ability you can follow us there now. And so everybody used to ask me all the time, hey, I want to I want to know when you're doing things, but I don't want to have to check the Eventbrite page all the time. And so they just created a new ability to follow us. So go out there, make sure you're signing in. You'll know you're at the right site if there's a whole bunch of things listed there. If there's just just one or two, that's the old site. So check it out. Gallup.eventbrite.com. If you have questions, there's a direct link on the coaches resources page. Don't forget to join us on Facebook. You can search Gallup Webcast, or you can just go to facebook.com/group/called-to-coach. Micah, we're getting really close to 19 million. Super excited. You want to watch that on the coaches on the Gallup Strength Center. We'll be at 20 by the end of the year, which is pretty awesome. Thanks for joining us. We're going to go into the post show. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.